On to something that's going to piss Amanda off. Our movie was suggested by our friend Amanda.
Oh.
Yes. Hacksaw Ridge. This movie was written by Andrew Knight and Robert Schenken. Directed by our favorite anti-Semite, Mel Gibson. Based on a 2004 documentary called The Conscientious Objector. Made on a budget of $40 million and makes $180.5 million at the box office. Our cast of characters, we have Andrew Garfield as Desmond Doss. Sam Worthington as Captain Jack Glover. Luke Bracey as Smitty Riker. Hugo Weaving as Desmond's father, Thomas Doss. Teresa Palmer as Dorothy Shute, who's Desmond's wife. Rachel Griffiths as Bertha Doss, which is Desmond's mother. Vince Vaughn as Sergeant Howell. Ryan Carr as Lieutenant Manville. Richard Roxborough as Colonel Seltzer. Luke Pegler as Hollywood Zane. Richard Pyros as Teach Fuller. Ben Mengay as Grease Nolan. Nathaniel Pazolik as Hal Doss, who's Desmond's brother. And Goran Clute as Ghoul Walker.
Yeah.
This movie received 6 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor for Andrew Garfield, and Best Sound Editing. And it wins 2 Oscars. It wins for Best Sound Mixing and Best Film Editing. This movie is the story of... it's a true story based on the life of a man named Desmond Doss. Desmond Doss is an absolute fucking legend. This man was a conscientious objector, which means he was a pacifist, essentially.
Correct.
He was raised, and we'll get into it a little bit when we go through the plot of the movie. But his family, he was a strict Seventh-day Adventist. Mm-hmm. And because of his Seventh-day Adventist upbringing and an incident with his brother...
Yes.
He disavowed violence.
Correct.
That being said, Desmond Doss enlists in the army during... Actually, let's not get into this.
Correct.
Let's jump into the movie.
The one thing I told him I realized today, I did the math as to when this movie came out. I took my son to see this in the theaters when he was 7 years old. Oh, I remember him seeing the advertisement on TV. He goes, "Can we go see that?" It's yeah, I'll take you. And then I'm watching. I'm like, oh my god.
Okay, so the movie opens up in 1920s Virginia.
Yes.
And you see 2 little boys playing, and they're roughhousing as young boys are wont to do. And their father is saying about he's gonna let him kick the shit out of each other, and then he's gonna kick the shit out of the winner.
Yeah, less work for me.
Yeah, less work for me.
Well, he came back from the cemetery though too.
Yeah,
he was a World War I veteran.
Yes, well, we were gonna get into that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Thomas Doss, the boy's father, is now this is before people knew what PTSD was.
Correct.
And Thomas Doss obviously has PTSD.
Yes.
And he's a World War I veteran. And he's a drunk. He's a very violent man.
Mm-hmm.
He's abusive. He's just... He tries in his own way to be a good person, but, he fails in a lot of ways.
Correct.
But once again, and I'm not making excuses for it, this is 1929. It's a different fucking world.
And also, he lost all of his friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody he knew and grew up with is now in the cemetery.
And they didn't realize this until after World War II. That's when VFW started coming around.
Right.
So veterans can get together and blah, blah, blah.
There they still had this thing called shell shock. Mm-hmm. They called it... we'll get into that. Doug says good flick. We'll get into that. They called it shell shock. And shell shock evolved into what was known as combat fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then combat fatigue eventually evolved into what we know today as post-traumatic stress disorder. And Thomas Doss was obviously suffering from a fucking severe case of PTSD.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so Desmond nearly kills his brother while they're fucking about.
Yep.
And
smacks him upside the head with a brick.
Yep. And his mother scolds him, tells him, of all the commandments in the Bible, Jesus' most sacred is thou shalt not kill.
Correct.
And Desmond takes that to heart. Okay. And this is part of the reason that his life takes the path it takes. Mm-hmm. So now let's fast forward a few years in the movie. I think he's at church.
Yeah, he's helping out at the church.
Yeah, he's cleaning the windows.
Yeah, he's cleaning out of the church. And a car falls down on a young man outside the church. And he's bleeding from, an artery.
It's basically, probably an ephemeral.
Yeah, probably the femoral.
Yeah.
So Desmond takes off his belt, and smart young man tourniquets the wound.
Yes.
And they get him to the hospital, and the doctor tells him that asks him who applied this tourniquet. I did. You probably saved this boy's life. And here's where we meet. Dorothy.
Yes.
She's the nurse, and immediately Desmond's smitten, and for good reason.
Yeah.
Good looking girl.
Yes.
So he asks her out on a date, or he goes back.
Yeah, she says, give blood. And he goes, okay, yeah, I'll give blood. And she's like, okay, wait in the room. And he's just standing there. No, go wait in the room. So he gives blood. And then, he said he was waiting for his belt because the guy had it. She goes, well, I don't have your belt. But anyway, he ends up giving blood.
Yep.
And then he goes home, and he comes back the next day.
Yeah,
and
to give blood again.
And she goes, I can't. And then he goes, well, then I want it back.
Take the bottle you gave me blood, and I want it back.
Yeah.
So he asks her out on a date, and they go to see a movie, and it's just a very wholesome 1930s or 1930s 1940s thing.
And I think it was in late 30s, early 40s because the war was.
It
had to be a little bit.
41
because Pearl Harbor had happened.
Right. Well, Pearl Harbor was about to happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was late 1941 because Pearl Harbor was December 7th of 41. Mm-hmm. So Desmond, he kisses Dorothy, and she's like, I thought you would like it. He's like, I thought you might like it. Well, I would have I might have if you would have asked.
Yeah, because she smacked him.
Yeah, she smacked him. It was a cute little exchange.
Yeah.
But Desmond is working at a shipyard at the time.
Correct.
And he could have gotten a deferment and not gone.
Correct.
But Pearl Harbor happens. Mm-hmm. And he decides that he has to go.
Yeah, there is a point. I mean, none of us can understand what that must have meant. You as a veteran, yes, but I'm saying.
Go ahead.
I mean, when everybody at the time, it was no divided country. Everybody wanted to help out wherever they could. After that,
when 9/11 happened, okay, I was that close to reenlisting. I was that close, but I had a 2-year-old kid at home. Randy was 2.
Who was that guy from the Cardinals?
Oh, Pat Tillman.
That's it.
Yeah, Pat Tillman leaves a multi-million-dollar NFL contract.
I know, but
enlists in the Army.
But Rangers. I mean, even with 9/11, and I'm not gonna diminish 9/11 because that was also horrific. But,
yes.
I mean, when you had sporting events, musicians, sports, every bottle man just went.
Yeah.
And women were taking over, building things, and taking over. I mean, the whole country really.
It's kind of a different scenario though, because there was a draft at in World War II.
But still, a lot did go.
Oh yeah, a
as
lot
well-
went voluntarily.
Yeah.
a lot went voluntarily. But
Don't forget his brother.
yeah, his brother was in the Navy.
But when his brother came to the dinner table
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
in his uniform, his dad basically told him, "Get the fuck out."
yeah.
'Cause
Which I thought was kind of weird. And again, I know that was probably the PTSD.
Yeah.
But I I would often think that sons of when military gets passed down, there's like almost like a pride that would be there.
Yes.
In a lot of cases, there is.
Yeah.
But when you have somebody whose experience was as horrific as that,
Yeah.
there's a lot of times it can go the other way. Like me personally, I've never pushed my boys toward the military. If they wanted to do it, I would support it 100%. But I've never pushed them toward it because I know it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
100% I know that. But anyway, back to the movie. So now Desmond enlists in the Army and he's going to be a combat medic. He wants to try to do a little bit of good in a bad fucking situation.
Correct. And I don't know if whenever he tells her that he's enlisting, she gets out of the car and she goes, "Aren't you going to marry me?" And he goes, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Well, maybe I would have, if you asked me." She does that line again. So then they agree to get married on his first
leave.
Yeah, his first leave.
Yeah, his first leave. So Desmond goes to basic training, and he's in a basic training platoon, and he refuses to touch a weapon.
Correct.
And this leads to, obviously, all sorts of consternation between him and the rest of the guys in his platoon.
Yeah. Now, speaking as just the movie itself, the only miscasting I think this whole movie had was Vince Vaughn.
Correct, 100%.
Really?
He was fucking terrible.
I mean, I understand. I don't know what the casting director was going for or what, but I mean, I have seen many drill instructors in many movies. Vince Vaughn is never the person, because honestly, when Doss is laughing at some of because I'm sure drill instructors, I think they hate the laughter, but I've seen videos, they want that shit to happen.
Oh, they do want it to happen.
Yeah.
They do want it to happen.
But
Hang on, let me tell you a little story.
Yeah.
Personal experience. When you've got the guy's appearance and his voice alone were laughable. One of my drill instructors at Fort Jackson was a man named Drill Sergeant Kit. Now, Drill Sergeant Kit was a 6'2" tall black man with a gap in his front teeth like Michael Strahan. He could have flossed with a tow rope. And he had a voice like this. And he would say shit like, "Private, you fuck up my station at the Super Bowl. I done invented some shit for your ass. I call it the duffel bag drag. You gonna be the duffel bag." That kind of shit, right?
Yeah.
They believe me. This guy I saw him once put a recruit on remote control.
Oh, I remember you. Yeah. Yeah.
I saw him once they get off on the laughter because it gives them an opportunity to smoke the shit out of you.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're 100% right,
Yeah.
Bill. Vince Vaughn was completely miscast.
I would have rather have seen someone Liam Neeson.
He would have been good.
Yeah, you're sure. There could have been a bunch of people I would have put in that, but Vince Vaughn was the last person
Yeah.
I would have wanted to see as a drill instructor because he was not believable to me as a drill instructor.
If he was a bit younger, I could have seen Hugo Weaving.
Hugo Weaving was awesome as a part, though.
Oh yeah, Hugo Weaving was great.
Everybody, from the generals, the commanders, every part in that movie, even the cadets,
Yeah, that was all miscast.
everybody was cast perfectly.
Right, except Vince Vaughn.
Yeah.
They could have done so much better there.
I did enjoy that scene where he first comes in and meets everybody, and he looks at the guy. He names him Ghoul. "How long have you been dead?"
Yeah, yeah.
And Hollywood's doing
Naked pull-ups.
makeups. Which,
Yeah.
oh my God! It was. I mean, Holly. If those stories are honest to God true, now because like if it's, I mean, just the fact that someone's doing naked pull-ups in the barracks, and now has to go out
And
and then run in the field.
And low crawl under barbed wire.
yes.
It's like,
naked. But anyway, so he enlists as a combat medic. He goes to basic, refuses to touch his weapon all throughout basic. So now the sergeant, Vince Vaughn, and the company commander and the battalion commander are doing everything they fucking can to get him to quit.
Correct.
And he will not quit. The other cadets beat the dog shit out of this guy.
Because they lost, I think, furlough.
Yeah,
Yes.
because they lost a furlough because he wouldn't touch a weapon.
Correct.
And so now they get the colonel, the battalion commander, gets the bright idea that he's going to give him a direct order to qualify with the M1 Garand, to qualify with a rifle. And Doss refuses to do it, so now he faces a court-martial.
Correct. Because they tried to Section 8 him.
Yeah, they tried to hit him with Section 8.
But the guys, he's not crazy. He just has his beliefs.
Right. So they put him before a court-martial, and he's given the opportunity to plead guilty and just go home.
Yep.
But he refuses to do it.
He changed it last minute.
Yep, last minute changed it.
It was all set up that he was going to... I just watched this last night again, so that's why
I just watched it yesterday.
Yeah, I watched it last night again.
But yeah, he was going to go home and presumably go back to his job at the shipyard, marry Dorothy, and everything was going to be wonderful.
Correct.
He fucking refuses to do it. But now at this point, one of the few people left from his father's World War II unit was his company commander, who's now a fucking brigadier general, who's now a one-star general. So you see Thomas Doss in his old fucking World War I doughboy uniform, and he goes and he ends up with a fucking letter from this brigadier general and takes it to Desmond's court-martial proceedings. The letter states that his conscientious objector status is protected by the Constitution, which it is.
And I'll tell you what, I thought there was an interesting take on him coming in the old uniform and getting almost no respect.
Oh yeah, when they said this is for military personnel only.
Yeah.
And that's when he goes, "What? I'm in a war, and once it's over, I'm no longer military personnel."
Yeah, that to me was like a weird, an interesting commentary on where respect was placed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but the reality of it is a court-martial proceeding is a private proceeding.
Yeah.
I've never been court-martialed,
And-
so I don't know.
That was the whole thing. That's why he had to go in, because he asked those gentlemen standing outside to take this letter in, because it's very important for what's going on in there.
Yeah.
And they refused.
Yeah. So he goes in and he gives this letter to the colonel who's presiding over the court-martial. And now everybody's been fucking overruled by this brigadier general and, more importantly, by the United States Constitution.
Correct.
Because conscientious objector status is 100% protected. So now the movie skips over two very significant things in Doss's life that I want to touch on, because it tells you what an absolute fucking legend this guy is. It's the beginning of the legend of Desmond Doss.
Okay.
He was awarded before the battle of Hacksaw Ridge, before the battle for Okinawa. He served in Guam.
I did see he served, yes.
And in Guam, in the battle for Guam, he was awarded a Bronze Star with a Valor Device for performance above and beyond the call of duty. Okay? Bronze Stars are no joke. They don't just fucking hand them out. All of this without firing a shot or touching a weapon.
Correct.
Then he's awarded a second Bronze Star with a Valor Device for the Battle over the Philippines. I did a little research. Once again, without firing a shot. He never took another life. He never even injured another person. Now we get to the Battle of Okinawa.
Correct.
And I understand, and even with skipping over that, it's still a 2.5 hour movie.
I know.
It's a very long movie. We get to Okinawa. The battle scenes are fucking phenomenal.
I know.
Like the flamethrower scenes.
Well,
God damn.
and that's why, like, I'm in the theater going, "Oh shit!"
And I being former military and being an avid Call of Duty player back in the day,
Yes.
the weapons were fucking accurate because you had Sergeant Howell with the grease gun.
How did the U.S. have a grease gun?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know. I was going to bring that up.
It's an MP40.
Okay.
Yeah, it's essentially the MP40.
Okay.
9mm, collapsible stock, fucking workhorse. Then you've got guys with the BAR, which is the Browning automatic rifle, which was one of the first machine guns that they're like individual serviced machine guns we had. We still had some squad service stuff like the Ma Deuce, which you see in that. But like the Japanese were using Arakasas with bayonets. The Japanese soldiers, they did very well with the accuracy on the weaponry. Now, Hacksaw Ridge is a sheer vertical cliff that they have to access by climbing fucking cargo nets.
400 feet.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Now, Doss's unit is set to relieve another unit and launch an assault on Hacksaw Ridge. During the first flight, Doss saves Smitty. Okay, Smitty gets injured. Doss saves him, and then they're sitting there after the battle and they're talking. And
The night when they dig their hole.
Yep, the night when they dig in. Everybody dig in, get some shut eye.
Yep.
2 hour watches. Smitty and Doss bury the hatchet for all the shit that went on in basic training. And, we find out Smitty's not really a fucking bad guy.
And we also find out why.
And we find out exactly why Doss won't fire a shot. Because a few years prior, he almost shot his father. Because his father was threatening his mom with a gun. And his father's like, pull the damn trigger. Pull the damn trigger. And, this is why Doss has become a pacifist. And it's completely fucking understandable. So now, the next morning, the Japanese hit back hard.
Like fucking cockroaches.
Well, later on, we find out where they're coming from.
Yeah.
Because we learned, and this was a lesson that we learned here and took with us into Vietnam. We knew that the Japanese had did this. It's just the Vietnamese did it better with the tunnels.
Yeah,
and but in Vietnam we actually had tunnel rats.
Yes,
we had dudes that their job was to go in and fucking smoke out these tunnels. Terrible fucking job. The guy that was my boss when I worked at Fernbrook before I went in the Army, he was a fucking tunnel rat in Vietnam. Yeah. But yeah, so now the second morning of the attack, the Japanese hit back hard and the unit is just fucking decimated.
You know what? I want to back up a little bit because I thought about this. So every day or every time before they send guys up there, they have the ships shoot artillery up there.
Yep.
So then the Japs know, hey, they're coming. So they fucking scurry and hide. And then, you get up there, then they fucking pop out. Then they had the battle. And like you said, now this is the next morning. And all the Japs came again. And you can continue.
The Japanese all come out again. And they just fucking lay waste to the unit.
Yes.
So they retreat down over the hill. Doss doesn't make it down. But he hears more men, crying, screaming for help. And he's a combat medic. So he's going and he's fucking saving lives. The official total that he was credited with in the Battle of Hacksaw Ridge is 75 men. and he did that shit single-handedly,
That
all
is
night long.
all night
night
long,
long.
lowering them down.
belaying them down on a fucking rappelling harness.
Yeah. When did Smitty pass?
He passed the morning of the second attack.
That's what I thought.
He passed the next morning.
He got shot, and Doss tried to take him and said, "Get this guy down." He goes, "Sorry, it's too late, man."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when Smitty got greased. But now, 75 men by himself overnight. And then he finally gets down. Him and Sergeant Howell.
Yes.
He lowers Howell down, and now the Japanese are coming, and he essentially throws himself with a rappelling harness over the fucking side.
Yes.
And, ends up climbing his way back down the rest of the way. While the guys are down on the ground picking off guys at the fucking top of the cliff.
Yeah.
Amazing scene. So now they take him to. Oh, hang on. Another thing that we've got to touch on is Seventh-day Adventists observe a Saturday Sabbath, which is going to come into play.
And what was funny is whenever who was the commander at the base, when he was talking to him, he says, "I just don't want to touch a gun, blah, blah, blah." And he goes, "Oh, is there anything else that the U.S. Army can do for you?"
Yeah.
Yeah, I need my Sabbath on a Saturday. "Oh, I'm sure we can work that."
The
thing
that.
was, when Vince Vaughn delivered the line, he also doesn't work on Saturdays.
Yeah, that's right.
And I honestly thought it was a joke.
Nope.
But the way it got delivered, I'm like, is he just saying a joke to be a dick now?
Yeah.
They explain it later, but not in that scene.
So the commander who now he apologizes for calling him a coward because he realizes that this is one of the bravest sons of bitches he's ever gonna fucking meet, and he's one of the bravest men who has ever lived. And that's legit. He's one of the bravest men who has ever lived, and what he did proves that. But so he tells Doss that Saturday they're planning on they're going to take the ridge, but I won't do it without you. Okay, we'll do it.
And they're all standing,
and he's praying.
Yeah,
praying for him. What are you waiting for? We're waiting for Doss. What is Doss? Well, he's praying.
Yeah.
Oh shit! We forgot one thing. Every time he's lowering a man over that ridge during the night, he's praying. Just let me get one more.
Oh, that's right.
Every fucking time.
He was, because when he got stuck up there, I forgot what the hell he was saying. Something about God show me blah 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 blah, and then that's when he started hearing the noises.
Yeah.
And and then it was, "Please God, help me find one more." You're exactly 100% correct.
Let me find one more. And he found fucking 75.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Now, they launched the next assault. And the sneaky Japanese, like they're surrendering, because they're getting their asses kicked. They come out like they're surrendering. They've got the white flags. And now the Japanese commander commits ritual suicide, seppuku.
Yeah, that.
He commits seppuku in the tunnel because he knows it's a lost cause, and much like the
Viet Cong?
Samurai?
No, not the samurai. The kamikaze pilots. Okay. These guys are embarking on a suicide mission. They're they're setting off grenades, and holding on to them.
Yeah.
So, like they show Doss batting one away, and then he kicks one away, and it goes off. And this is where Doss gets injured and gets taken down. And that's essentially the end of the movie.
Yeah. There was one other really cool scene there when he was going through and he found somebody injured laying there who was alive, but there was a dead body next to him, and the Japs were coming.
He pulls the body over him.
He pulls the body over him, but then covered the guy with dirt and said, "Just trust me."
Yeah.
You just see the one eye sitting through the dirt. And then the Japs, good thing he did pull that guy on top, because he bayoneted the guy to make sure he was dead.
Yep. But yeah, and then you see Doss getting lowered down to the bottom, clutching the fucking Bible.
Yep.
Clutching that Bible, and Dorothy's picture was in there. I said Amanda wasn't going to like me for this. I fucking lied. I loved this movie.
I told you. I knew you would.
This movie was fucking fantastic.
This is a one of mine. You know, Jimmy and mine's go to. We watch it. Oh my god, we watch this multiple times a year.
Then okay, so that's the end of like the dramatic or the dramatized part of it. Now we switch to actual pictures of Corporal Doss.
Yes.
Like, and video of him getting getting his Medal of Honor pinned on him by President Truman, and interviews with people that served with him and people who served with him at Hacksaw Ridge. And I tell you what, I did a little, like I said, I did a little research on this guy, and he's a fucking absolute legend. And this was a really good movie. I said in the group text about a new. I want to do a new movie rating system.
Okay.
Because stars confuse Bill.
They do not confuse me. I just don't abide by them.
Well, we're gonna abide by this.
Well,
Now the movies are going to be rated as such. The movie either gets a thumbs up, a thumbs in the middle, a thumbs down, or in the cases of most of the shit that Jim,
you were.
I almost said Bill.
Yeah, but you meant it.
In most of the shit that Jim suggests to us, it gets the finger.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be a thumb up the ass.
Oh, you
No,
enjoy
it's-
that too much.
It gets the finger. Now, what do you give this
All
movie?
right. Well, first I want to.
Well, go ahead.
Okay.
Editorialize.
I am going to say this movie had a overall great cast, great action. I can understand why it won so many awards, and I can appreciate and respect the movie and the story for what it was. And that being all said, I did not like the movie because I do not like war movies.
Okay, I get that.
I am going to take myself out of even that and say, if you like war movies and movies about, stories about war and all that, definitely I will recommend this movie and see it.
Okay.
I would not recommend it to me. So, however, I have to rate this now.
Yes. Do you remember how to do that now?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I have to give it. So I definitely will give this, as a movie, a thumb up.
Thumbs up. Okay.
But it's, like I said, it's not one I want to see again. I don't like war movies.
Did you ever see
Gotcha.
Saving Private Ryan?
I have seen it. I didn't like that one either.
right.
About the only war movie I do like is Full Metal Jacket, which is weird.
Yeah. Well, a lot of that doesn't focus on war.
Yeah.
It's and to be fair, Gunnery Sergeant Hartman is such an iconic character.
I
and
am
it's
just
so infinitely quotable.
I'm not a fan of the genre, but that still being said, people should see this movie, even
Yes.
though I don't care
Yeah.
for it.
Right.
Have you ever seen Band of Brothers, Eric?
Yes.
Okay. I like the main reason I like them as well, and Jimmy, like I said, I'm watching it again with Jimmy for Christ's sake, are the interviews they have with the people that they're really. I mean, the shit that those guys went through, and they're talking about it.
Yeah.
Holy shit! And then the second one, the Pacific.
Yeah.
That was another.
Well, World War II. World War II is like the warfare from that time frame is a completely fucking different animal than we have today.
Correct.
In a lot of ways, it was a lot more brutal. But what do you rate the movie, Jim?
Oh, that got to be a thumbs up.
Okay.
Like I said, this is a constant rotation, right up there with. Well, I know you're not going to enjoy it, but this is like we got Ford versus Ferrari and Hacksaw Ridge come out of his mouth almost every time he's over.
Nice. I really enjoyed this movie. Amanda, thank you very much for suggesting this. I'm definitely going to give this movie a big fucking thumbs up. I really enjoyed this to the point where I like I said, I went and I learned a bit about Desmond Doss after watching this. And that man, much respect, sir. Much fucking respect.
I actually have one of my games, Memoir 44, which does a lot of the battles of World War II.
Uh-huh.
They have a Desmond Doss scenario
He just showed it to me today. I'm like, you fucking
And
Really?
Yes.
Yes.
And I want, I'm going to play it, and it's like it takes place like it does the best it can do for the Hacksaw Ridge scenario.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and like I said, they do a lot of the battles of World War II. As I said, even though I don't, and and that's one of my favorite games as well.
Right.
It's just, and I did. Oh, the battle scenes were so graphic. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, the battle scenes, and that's one thing I do got to give Mel Gibson credit for. Like, if you go back to even like Braveheart,
Yes.
go back to Braveheart, and believe it or not, I've really enjoyed this movie, The Passion of the Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Mel Gibson does brutality in such a beautiful way. The Patriot.
Patriot, and that one that had to do with the Incas. Oh, what the hell was that?
I don't remember.
That had to do with Incas and the Aztecs. It was in.
I don't remember.
I'll think of it.
But Mel Gibson does brutality in a beautiful way. I really enjoyed this movie. And I'm actively looking for the documentary.
I was just gonna say I saw that there was a documentary.
Yep, it's called The Conscientious Objector.
I didn't even know that.
It's on Tubi, and I believe it's on the Roku channel.